That was the big intro.
That was it. Ta-da! I like to get things on the road.
So my definition of love would be the willingness and the fortuitousness to be giving at all times. In the most difficult times, it seems when we become the most self-centered, and yet love requires us to always think of the other person and think of them first, which is against our very nature. And yet, that's what we really need to do when we think about loving someone for the rest of our lives, is to be able to put them first, be able to give of yourself, and to be able to make that last a lifetime. It's a real, it's not a chore, it's something that you have to get up and decide every day that this is how I'm going to live my life. And once you do that and you make that decision, the rest of it kind of falls in place.
Oh, what he said.
You can do better.
Okay, I'll try.
You have more words.
To me, love is a commitment. And when Mark and I got married, we stood before God and we made a vow before Him and before about 100 other people that we were going to love and honor one another and cherish each other. And in sickness and in health and in good times and in bad and rich and poor and a lot of poor. But we made a vow, and it was a holy thing for me. It was a commitment, and it's the thing that I go back to. It's a foundation for me, a belief in Jesus Christ, and a touchstone that when everything else may be going bad and not going well, it's something that I can go back to and say, this is where I began, this is where I want to end someday. And someone asked me one time, how can you love the same man year after year after year and wake up the same day or day after day, looking at this face? And I told them, I said, when I married Mark, I loved him. I loved him to the very best of my ability, to the very best of my knowledge. And what I felt for him was true at that time. But we're almost 30 years into this thing now, and I love him in a way that I didn't comprehend then, because we've had 4 children together, we now have a grandbaby together, and we've lived through births and deaths and financial struggles and sickness and broken legs and all of the things that you go through in a marriage. And the love that I had then is a pale reflection to the love that I have now. And there were times that I wanted to throw in the towel. There were times that I think both of us did. But because we didn't, what we have now is rich and sweet.
So our definition of love is supporting each other no matter what, doing things for each other when we don't ask each other to do it, whether it's doing the dishes, doing the laundry, changing the kids' diaper, and at the end of the day, knowing that there's no one else that we want to be able to spend the rest of our lives with. And that is what our definition of love is. Love you!
My definition of love has never been something that was found in a book or it was taken from a movie quote. It's always been real, tangible, and very evident in my life. I've had these really great examples since I came into this world. My parents, who've been married for nearly 30 years, and my dad will still go out of his way to do nice things for my mom. God forbid I'm ever carbon copied onto one of their emails. It is the sappiest thing you'll ever read. I've also had my grandparents who've been married for over 50 years. And I think the funniest story I know about them has been whenever my grandpa and my girlfriend and I were out at breakfast one morning. It was just us. And this couple came up to the table and they knew Grandpa because everyone knows Grandpa. And they started talking to him, and during the course of the conversation, they said that it was their 25th wedding anniversary that day. And as they're walking away, the guy turns around and goes, "Can you believe that I put up with her for 25 years?" And we all laughed, and he walked away, and Grandpa just turned and he looked at me, he said, "I can do 25 years in my sleep, son." So apparently it hasn't been a hard slog for him. But for me, the epitome of love, my personal definition has always been Poppy and Nana. That's Grandpa and Grandma for you, those of you watching at home. They've always been my definition of love. It seems like their story came out of some Nicholas Sparks novel or some romantic comedy movie. Poppy grew up on a farm. He was just some farm boy. He plowed fields, walked uphill both ways in the snow to hear him tell it, did more work before the sun came up than I've done in my whole life, that kind of thing. But he used to bale hay at this neighboring farm. And there was this girl there. She was 2 years older than him. Her name was Lois Lee. And he was over there baling hay one day, and he was 11, and she came out, she was 13. And he said he was pretty taken with her. That's his exact words. She was a real looker. So he went home that night, and he told his mom, he said, "Mom, I'm going to marry that Lois Lee someday." And sure enough, he did. And they had 2 kids, 6 grandkids, and they just lived their lives together. They did everything together. They had this traveling singing group called the Kingdom Heirs. Southern gospel. They would go all over the place. They'd sing the same songs, and Poppy would tell the same jokes. I know they're the same jokes because I was like 7 when this was going on, and I still remember those jokes. And it's one of his favorite ones was he'd always introduce the band. And he'd say, "This is my daughter Becky," and he'd tell something about her. And say, "This is my son-in-law Mark. We just kept him around because he could play the bass." And he'd say something about my Uncle Brett. And then he would say, "This is my wonderful wife Lois. We've been happily married for 34. And then she'd cut him off, and she'd say, "We've been married for 36 years. And he'd say, "Oh, well, happily married 34 out of 36 years ain't bad." And a big laugh. Everyone would get a kick out of it. It's not nearly so funny after you've been listening to it 100 times. But you can never question their love. They always loved each other. You knew that. And if their love for each other was ever matched, it was the love that they had for us, their kids, their grandkids. And me and Matt, we were the oldest of the grandkids, so we got dibs on Poppy and Nana. We spent, probably 52 weekends out of the year there, and Mom and Dad would drag us kicking and screaming out of their house at the end of every weekend. We did everything with them. If they camped, we camped. If Poppy went hunting, me and Matt were hunting. And we would stay up late. We'd play this ridiculous card game, Continental. I still don't know how to play it. I don't think I ever did. But me and Matt would usually just end up arguing about something during the game, and it would start about the game, and then it would turn into who was going to get what when Nana and Poppy died. And we always argued about this truck, and then Poppy would end up saying no one was dying anytime soon, so we didn't have to worry about getting anything. And I still don't know why they liked having us come over to their house, because all we wanted was their junk. But we basically were their surrogate kids. We were just second set of children for them. And maybe it was because we were the oldest, and maybe it's because we were the best looking. I don't know, but we had a special relationship with them that the other grandkids just didn't have. Matt and Poppy were always buddies. Matt got to hunt first. He got to learn how to legally drive before me, and Poppy showed him how to do all these things. And that was fine because I got Nana. And me and Nana were really close. And we spent a lot of time together when Matt would go out with Poppy, and so we'd just hang out. We'd stay up late. We were both night owls. We'd watch reruns of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and we would sit around and talk about whatever was under the sun. And we just got each other, and we spent all this time together. And me and her had just a special relationship that Matt didn't have with her, that none of the other kids had with her, and we just really got it. We just clicked. So Nana was always the gold standard for me for what I thought a woman should be. She was real pretty. She was really smart. She was funny. She was really sweet, but she was really tough. You had to be married to Poppy for as long as she has been. She was just tough. And I used to always bring all the girls I would date to meet them. and I would say, we're going to go meet Poppy and Nana, and you know, if Nana doesn't like you, you know, we're not gonna make it. It's not gonna work. And they'd always think that was so funny. They'd laugh and just think that I was being sweet because, you know, I love my grandma. And I couldn't think of anything that was less funny, because if Nana didn't like you, there had to be something inherently wrong with you. Because I could have brought a three-headed space alien over, and Nana would just thought it was great that I found someone that was going to try and love me as much as she did. And she would always say they were great. And then when I break up with them, she said, well, they weren't right for you anyways. So I was always batting 1,000. And, you know, she was just she'd set the standard for me, so all these girls that I bring, they just didn't compare. And, you know, like I said, she was really tough. And this whole time that I've known her, you know, she's always been sick. And I never thought anything of it, because she'd go to the hospital, she'd come back out, we'd spend another birthday and another Christmas together. It was just the way it was. And, you know, if you could get it, she had it. She had tumors, she had a rare blood disorder, she had cataracts, you know, she always had something. And they would take her in the hospital, they'd open her up, take something out, put something in, and she'd be good as new, and, you know, we'd be the next holiday together. And as I got older, it kept getting worse, and I just ignored it. You know, I didn't, you know, Nana, she didn't get sick. And as far as I was concerned, she could die once I got married. Once I got married and had kids. She could die then. And maybe when I was like 5 minutes away from me dying, then she could die. But I'll never forget when I came home from work one night, Dad was in my room. He was sitting on my bed. Sorry. He was sitting on my bed, and that usually meant I was in trouble. So I'm trying to rack my brain. I'm trying to think what I did. And so he said, you need to go see your Nana, she's in the hospital. And I wouldn't do it. That's not how I wanted to see her, and she didn't like us coming to see her like that anyways. So I absolutely wasn't going to do it. Because anyway, she didn't get sick. I mean, she'd go to the hospital and she'd come out, and I was fine. And so she went in for exploratory surgery, and Poppy walked back with her and told her he loved her, and she said the same to him, and that was the last thing that they ever said to each other. And it hurts, you know, whenever you lose someone you love. It always hurts, you know, no matter what. And she didn't leave us things. She didn't leave us a journal or a diary or a favorite watch or anything like that. She didn't have that. She always had. She just loved us, and my Uncle Brett always said it perfect. You know, she just left us a legacy. And so you can imagine my surprise when about a month or two later, we're sitting at breakfast, and Poppy sits down next to me, and he said, I need to talk to you about something serious. And you know, I couldn't handle anything else, you know. I'm still getting up and sobbing in the shower every morning, and he was like, I got your Nana's rings back from the jeweler, and I think that she would want you to have them for when you find your Nana. And, you know, of course, I don't even know if he formed the question fully yet. You know, I'm pretty sure that he got it halfway out, and I'd said yes, and we're both hugging and crying over biscuits and gravy at Diamonds, you know. I'm sure everyone around us was wondering what they put in their food that day. And it's been a huge surprise for me to have those, you know. It might be the only physical thing material thing that she ever cared about. And while it's been a big surprise, it's also been a really heavy burden, because how am I supposed to find someone to give those to? How do I give up the last thing that I have of her, the only thing that she might have ever cared about, you know, the only material thing she ever cared about? How do I give that to somebody? But I've looked, and I'd always get to a point with these girls that I date that I'd sit there and I'd think, like, is this the person that I can see myself giving this to? And the answer was emphatically no every time. And it's not they were bad, because that's not the case. They were fine. It's just it wasn't ever what I thought. It wasn't ever my what I thought that I wanted to be with, someone I wanted to be with. And I thought for sure that I was bound to be single forever. It's all downhill from here, you know. It's I'm not getting any better looking. And I thought maybe the standard was just, the bar was too high. The standard was set too high. And, you know, Nana set the bar really high a long time ago for me. And it took a long time for me to finally find somebody I really cared about. And that was when I met Tess. I could fill up a full-length feature film with a bunch of cliches about Tess, and they'd all be true. You know, she's beautiful. She's really funny. She's really smart. She's really compassionate, and she's really tough. And none of it would do her justice. The thing that's always been the most attractive to me was she was really driven. She always knew what she wanted. She definitely never needed me for anything. She didn't need my money, which is good because I didn't have any. And she never needed things, but she knew what she was going to do with her life, and you could get on board with it or you could get out. And it was always just something that I was really attracted to. And it got really serious really fast. I knew it was going to be more than just some other girl I dated. You know, she was going to be special. And so I sat there and I got to that point where I needed to commit. I needed to decide if she was going to be it for me. And I mean, as soon as I thought about it, you know, the answer was yes. You know, of course, I love her. I want to be with her. And then I thought in my head, if I could make this checklist, if I could think about who could I see myself being with, this perfect woman, if I could make this perfect woman in my head, all the things that I want in a woman. And if I could, you know, twitch my nose and nod my head and poof, you know, there she is. She's standing right next to Tess. And I always thought, you know, what would that be for me? Like, what would I choose? And it was easy. You know, it was always Tess. She blows the doors off that girl. It's not even close. And I'm not supposed to be emotional with this part. This is the easy part for me. The hard part was already done, but, you know, whenever I thought about it, and I knew that when I thought about that, about her blowing the doors off the perfect woman, that's when I knew that I had to marry her.
I'll never settle down. That's what I always thought. I was that kind of man. Just ask anyone. I don't dance, but here I am, spinning you round and round in circles. It ain't my style, but I don't care. I'd do anything with you anywhere. Guess you got
You met the cat yet?
No, I haven't.
All right, so last year I told Tess, please do not get me anything for Valentine's Day. So naturally she went out and did it anyways. So this year I'm trying to pay her back in kind, and I told her that I would get her something, but nothing too big because I'm poor and I just bought this house. So it's been quite an experiment, but you know, I would do anything for Tess. I love her. So really I don't need to ask you a bunch of questions. I just need to ask you one, and that's, can I marry Tess?
Yeah, you can.
Yes. I was more nervous to ask you than I was to ask her, so that's
Yeah,
saying
you
something.
treat her good. She seems to like you a lot. So.
I'm glad I caught her now because it's all downhill from here for me, so.
That tickled me, actually.
I've been waiting 2 years to do this.
You married?
Well, that's it. So, thank you guys for coming. And if you guys want to go to the bar now, you can. I'm going to stay and pick things up.